Sophia, I just wanted to bring you some homemade food. You've been looking thin lately, my child.
I told you not to come here. What if someone sees you?
I'm doing everything I can for you. Please don't be ashamed of me.
I told you to leave. You're embarrassing me. Just go!
Let's make it fair. Sophia, Emily, do you sing or play an instrument? Maybe that could be your talent.
I can sing a little.
Perfect. Let's give her the spotlight.
I won't let you do this.
Emily Okocha, it has come to my attention that you've been engaged in behavior unbecoming of a Gracefield student.
This photo has been brought to me as evidence.
So wait, you can't just...
I'm here to see the dean, now.
Whispering to student B? That's Emily's father.
This is not going to be good for Sophia.
She rode a bicycle to the most expensive school in the city, and by the end of the year, that same bicycle would carry the daughter of a billionaire past the girl who mocked her for being poor. Nobody at Gracefield College knew who Emily really was. And what happened to the girl who lied about her own mother? That part will leave you speechless. Stay with me. Before we go any further, hit that follow button right now, because this story only gets more shocking from here, and you will not want to miss a single twist. The early morning sun shone brightly as a convoy of luxury cars pulled up outside the airport. Inside the largest car sat Emily Okocha, a soft-spoken young woman with a calm demeanor and a quiet strength that few people ever noticed at first glance. She had just returned home after spending most of her teenage years at boarding school in the United States. Her billionaire father, Mr. Okocha, had insisted she come back to be closer to him and to enroll at Gracefield College, an elite school known across the city for its prestige, its wealth, and its unforgiving social hierarchy. As the car doors opened, Emily stepped out in simple jeans and a plain t-shirt. Her braided hair was neatly tied back, and she carried nothing but a small backpack. A few onlookers stared, drawn in by the sleek convoy of vehicles, but Emily paid them no attention. She had grown up surrounded by her father's wealth, and she was used to the attention it attracted. What she wasn't used to, and what she had never wanted, was to be defined by it. Her father greeted her with open arms. "Welcome home, Emily," he said, smiling warmly. "I know Gracefield will be a good fit for you. Just focus on your studies, and enjoy yourself." "I'll do my best, Dad," Emily replied, hugging him tightly. But despite her father's insistence on comfort, Emily had already made up her mind about the kind of life she wanted to live. She planned to keep a low profile, to avoid the spotlight her family name always seemed to attract, and to blend in as much as possible. So the next morning, she dressed simply, climbed onto an old bicycle, and pedaled her way to her very first day at one of the wealthiest schools in the country. The gates of Gracefield College opened wide that morning, welcoming a new term and a new wave of students. Expensive cars rolled in one after another, dropping off young men and women dressed head to toe in designer clothing. And somewhere in the middle of all that glamour, a girl on a bicycle quietly parked near the gate. Emily wore a neatly ironed white shirt and carried a simple bag. Most of her classmates barely noticed her as she walked past. But a few did. And those few began to whisper. "Did she really ride a bicycle to school?" one girl asked, wrinkling her nose in disgust. "She must be poor," a boy replied, laughing softly under his breath. Emily ignored them completely. She already knew what people would think of her simple appearance. Her father's words echoed in her mind, words he had told her since she was a little girl: "You don't need to prove your worth with flashy things. Your character is your value." Holding on to those words, Emily walked calmly toward her classroom, her head held high. Not long after, a shiny black SUV with tinted windows rolled into the school compound, and every head turned. The driver stepped out quickly and opened the rear door. Out came Sophia Obie, dressed in a custom-fitted red top, carrying a designer handbag, dripping in jewelry that sparkled under the morning sun. Her heels clicked sharply against the pavement as she walked. "That must be her," one boy said excitedly. "The billionaire's daughter. I heard she just got back from abroad. Her family is supposed to be super rich," a girl added. "They even donated a new building to the school." Sophia smiled as the whispers reached her ears. She loved being the center of attention. She walked through the crowd with total confidence, her chin lifted, basking in every stare and every murmur of admiration. Inside the classroom, Emily quietly took a seat near the back. Her plain shirt and simple ponytail stood in stark contrast to the designer outfits around her. She noticed how the other students' eyes drifted past her and straight to Sophia, who had claimed a seat near the front, already surrounded by girls eager to win her favor. "Your bag is so beautiful," one of them gushed. "Is it from Paris?" "Yes," Sophia replied with a practiced smile. "My dad got it for me on our last trip. He said I needed something elegant for school." The girls gasped, clearly impressed. Sophia leaned back in her chair, savoring the attention, savoring the rumors floating around her about being the billionaire's daughter. She had no intention of correcting anyone, even if the story wasn't entirely true. Meanwhile, Emily kept her eyes on her notebook, trying to tune out the chatter. But the whispers grew louder, and fragments of conversation drifted her way. "She must be the daughter of the big donor everyone's talking about," one boy said, glancing at Sophia. "Definitely," another agreed. "Look at her, she's practically glowing with money." Emily shook her head slightly, a small, private smile crossing her face. The gossip didn't bother her. She hadn't come to Gracefield to compete for attention. She had come to learn. But by the end of that very first day, the students had already made up their minds. To them, Sophia was the glamorous heiress, and Emily was just the quiet girl who didn't belong. It didn't take long for Sophia to set her sights on Emily. Something about Emily's simplicity, her calm silence in the face of luxury, irritated Sophia in a way she couldn't quite explain. By the end of the first week, the mockery had become public. "Hey, bad girl," Sophia called out across the hallway one morning, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Did your bicycle break down yet? Or do you need a scholarship for a new one?" A few students laughed. Emily paused for a moment, looking at Sophia with calm, steady eyes. "Good morning to you too, Sophia," she said softly, before walking away. Her composure only fueled Sophia's determination. During lunch, Sophia spread a new rumor, whispering to a circle of girls that Emily was a scholarship student barely scraping by. "It's the only way someone like her could afford this school," she said, making sure the words traveled. Soon, whispers of "bad girl" and "scholarship student" followed Emily everywhere she went. She ignored the taunts and buried herself in her studies. But not everyone was quick to judge her. Alex Okocha, one of the most popular boys in school, began to notice something different about Emily. Handsome, intelligent, and from a wealthy family himself, Alex was admired by nearly everyone, yet he wasn't arrogant, and he didn't like the way Sophia treated people beneath her. One day in the cafeteria, as Sophia loudly mocked Emily's supposed poverty in front of a crowd, Alex finally stepped in. "Sophia, do you ever stop talking about other people?" he asked, his voice firm. Sophia turned to him, caught off guard. "I'm just telling the truth, Alex." "She's more focused on school than gossip," Alex interrupted, his tone sharp but calm. "Unlike some people." He walked over to Emily's table and sat down, flashing her a kind, genuine smile. "Hi, Emily. Do you mind if I join you?" The cafeteria fell completely silent. Every eye turned toward them, including Sophia's, whose fist clenched tightly under the table. "Of course," Emily said, offering a small, grateful smile. "Thanks." Sophia watched, jealousy burning through her chest. How could Alex, of all people, choose to pay attention to a girl like Emily? She had tried for months to catch his eye, and failed every single time. A few weeks later, the school held its annual charity gala, an event where students were expected to show off both their wealth and their generosity. Each class was tasked with raising funds, and individual donations were announced publicly, one by one. Sophia saw it as the perfect stage to shine. When her turn came, she stood confidently at the podium. "I'd like to donate $5 million to the school's charity fund," she announced, smiling proudly. The crowd erupted into applause. Students whispered about her generosity, her wealth, her elegance. She returned to her seat glowing with admiration. Her closest friends, Vanessa and James, showered her with compliments. Vanessa was a sharp-tongued young woman who had spent months trying to stay in Sophia's good graces. "That's amazing, Sophia," she said, flipping her hair. "Nobody can match your generosity." "Absolutely," James added, gazing at her with open admiration. "You're the star of the school now." James, despite his own conflicted feelings, admired Sophia's wealth deeply and had quietly fallen for her, always looking for ways to get her attention. But when the next name was announced, the entire room fell into stunned silence. "Emily Okocha," the principal said, "has donated 5 million. Every head turned toward the back of the hall, where Emily sat quietly, her expression calm and unreadable. "Where did she get that kind of money?" Vanessa whispered, stunned. Sophia's jaw tightened. She leaned toward Vanessa and James, her voice low and venomous. "Oh please, do you know how she got that money? She probably seduced Alex. He's been spending all this time with her, hasn't he?" Vanessa gasped dramatically, covering her mouth. "You're probably right, Sophia. That's so low." "She's not fooling anyone," James smirked. "Alex must have paid for her donation." By the end of the day, the rumor had spread like wildfire. Students whispered that Emily had sold herself to Alex just to match Sophia's donation. Sophia made sure to look smug every time the gossip reached her ears, quietly relishing the damage she was causing. Emily, though clearly wounded by the constant judgment, held her head high, her focus locked firmly on her goals. Alex noticed her strength, and continued standing by her side, which only made Sophia more determined to push Emily further into the shadows. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment down below with the words "I'm still here." Let's see who is truly following this shocking story all the way through, because it is about to take a turn nobody saw coming. The following week buzzed with excitement as James, Sophia's newest admirer, announced he was throwing a house party, and only the elite and admired students of Gracefield were invited. Naturally, Sophia sat at the very top of that list. "Will you be there, Sophia?" James asked her at lunch, leaning casually against the table. Sophia tilted her head, offering a playful smile. "I'll try, James. I've been thinking of flying out to Dubai this weekend. You know how stressful it is balancing school and travel." She sighed dramatically, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "But maybe I'll take our family's private jet back in time. I wouldn't want to miss your party." James grinned. "You're amazing, Sophia." "It wouldn't be the same without you," Vanessa chimed in, her voice thick with admiration. "A private jet just to make it to a party. You're such a queen." Sophia soaked in every word, imagining how long the students would talk about her wealth after the party was over. In her mind, her place at the top of Gracefield's social ladder was completely secure. But the very next morning, everything nearly unraveled. As students gathered near the school gate, Sophia's voice could be heard arguing loudly with someone just outside. Curious, a few students glanced over and saw her standing in front of a modestly dressed older woman holding a basket of food. "I told you not to come here," Sophia hissed, glancing around nervously. "What if someone sees you?" The woman's face was weary but kind. "Sophia, I just wanted to bring you some homemade food. You've been looking thin lately, my child." Sophia snatched the basket and shoved it back toward her. "I don't want it. And stop calling me that. Just leave before someone notices." The woman hesitated, her voice beginning to break. "Sophia, I'm doing everything I can for you. You know how hard it was for me to convince Mr. Okocha to let you study here. Please, don't be ashamed of me." Nearby students began to whisper, unsure of who this woman was. Sophia's eyes darted anxiously around the crowd. She stepped closer, lowering her voice, but the anger in it never faded. "I told you to leave. You're embarrassing me. Just go." When the woman didn't move quickly enough, Sophia shoved her, and the woman stumbled backward, falling hard onto the pavement. Emily, who had just arrived on her bicycle, froze at the sight. Her heart ached for the woman, and anger boiled inside her at what she had just witnessed. She dropped her bicycle and rushed over. "Are you okay, ma'am?" Emily asked gently, helping the woman back to her feet. Then she turned to Sophia, her voice firm. How could you treat an elderly woman like this? Sophia's eyes flicked nervously toward the growing crowd, where James and a few other students were approaching. Without hesitation, she pointed at the woman and sneered. Oh, don't act so righteous, Emily. Isn't this your mother? Why don't you keep her away from the school gates? Emily's jaw tightened. My mother would never be treated like this, because I respect her. What's your excuse? The crowd murmured, confused, unsure of who to believe. Sophia took a step back, her expression turning icy. You can't fool anyone, Emily. Stop pretending to be better than you are. Emily ignored her completely and turned back to the woman, who was still brushing dust off her worn dress. Let me help you, ma'am, she said softly, guiding her toward a nearby bench. Thank you, my dear, the woman whispered. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't cause any trouble at all, Emily reassured her, kneeling beside her with quiet patience. From a distance, Sophia watched the entire scene unfold, her stomach twisting into knots. Her mother's modest appearance could never match the image of wealth she had spent years building. She could not, under any circumstances, let anyone discover the truth. Later that day, Emily overheard students gossiping about the encounter. Did you see Emily yelling at her mother this morning? One girl said, shaking her head. How embarrassing. She's always trying to act like she's better than us, another added. By girl thinks she's important, a third scoffed. The rumor stung, but Emily kept her head high. She knew the truth, even if no one else did. Meanwhile, in the cafeteria, Sophia sat laughing with Vanessa and James as they spread even more gossip. She's so desperate to seem perfect, Sophia said with a fake laugh. I say, James chuckled. She probably thinks standing up to you makes her brave. It's pathetic, really, Vanessa added, her voice dripping with sarcasm. She'll never fit in here. Sophia smirked, satisfied on the surface, but deep down, she knew Emily's calm strength made her look weak in comparison, and that thought ate at her more than she would ever admit. As the days passed, the bullying only intensified. Students whispered behind Emily's back, mocked her clothes, and called her cruel names in the hallways. But Emily refused to let them see her break. She reminded herself, again and again, of her father's words, your worth isn't in what others think. It's in what you do. Despite everything, she stayed focused, holding on to the quiet certainty that she would never let Sophia's lies define who she really was. The night of James's party finally arrived, and the spacious hall of his family's mansion filled with music, laughter, and nearly every elite student at Gracefield College. Sophia stood at the center of it all, radiant in a glittering dress that screamed wealth, with Vanessa and James flanking her, feeding her ego with compliment after compliment. I have a little surprise for tonight, Sophia said, smirking as she spotted Emily walking through the doors. James, following Sophia's request, had personally invited Emily, assuring her it would be a casual, low-key gathering. Emily arrived in a simple but neatly kept dress, her braided hair tied back, carrying herself with the same quiet confidence she always had. The room went silent as heads turned to stare. Sophia wasted no time. Well, Emily, she said loudly, her voice dripping with mockery. Did you stop by a thrift store on your way here? Or is this vintage? Laughter rippled through the crowd. Emily felt the weight of dozens of eyes pressing down on her. Her cheeks warmed, but she took a slow breath and smiled. Thank you for noticing, Sophia. It's vintage. Not that you'd believe me, the calmness in her voice caught more than a few students off guard. Whispers spread through the room, some of them, for the first time, filled with quiet admiration instead of mockery. Sophia's smirk faltered for just a moment before she recovered. Oh, I just adore how humble you are, Emily, she said sweetly. In fact, let's make tonight more fun. How about a little competition? Let's see if you have any talents to match all that confidence. The room grew quiet as every eye shifted between the two girls. Emily looked at Sophia, her expression calm but firm. What kind of competition? Anything you want, Sophia replied, shrugging carelessly. But I'm sure we all know how this will end. James, sensing the tension, stepped in to referee. Let's make it fair. Sophia, Emily, do you sing or play an instrument? Maybe that could be your talent. Emily hesitated for only a moment before nodding. I can sing a little. Sophia's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Perfect. Let's give her the spotlight. She motioned toward the small stage, where a microphone and piano waited under a soft light. Emily walked up onto that stage with quiet confidence. The room fell completely silent, and she could feel the weight of every expectation pressing on her shoulders. She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts, and then she began to sing. Her voice was soft and clear, carrying a heartfelt melody that filled the entire hall. As the song built, the audience grew still, captivated by the raw emotion in her voice. Even the students who had mocked her only minutes earlier found themselves listening, completely spellbound. When she finished, there was a brief, breathless silence, and then the room erupted into applause. Sophia's face darkened behind a forced smile. Well, that was unexpected, she said, her tone strained beneath the surface. But the admiration filling the room was undeniable, and there was nothing she could do to take it back. As the party continued, a tall, well-dressed young man approached Sophia, carrying himself with an air of quiet confidence. Hi, I'm Richard Okoro, he said, extending his hand with a charming smile. You must be Sophia. Sophia's eyes lit up instantly. The Okoro family was one of the wealthiest and most respected in the entire region, known for its sprawling business empire. This, she realized immediately, was the opportunity she had been waiting for her whole life. Nice to meet you, Richard, she said, her voice turning sweet. I've heard a lot about your family. I've heard about you too, Richard replied. Would you like to go out sometime? Maybe dinner. Sophia's heart raced as she felt her classmates watching the exchange, their eyes wide with envy. She smiled coyly. I'd love to. Nearby, James clenched his fist, a sharp pang of jealousy cutting through him as he watched Sophia eagerly accept another man's invitation. Vanessa leaned in, whispering excitedly. Sophia, this is perfect. You and Richard make a perfect pair. Sophia's mind was already racing ahead. If I can make him fall for me, I'll secure my place among the elite forever, she thought. I just need to keep up this image a little longer. She smiled to herself, feeling triumphant, completely unaware of how fragile that image truly was. The very next day, Sophia spread yet another rumor through her circle of friends. Did you see how Emily was acting at the party? She whispered. She's obviously trying to snag someone rich, like Alex. It's pathetic. The rumor spread quickly, and soon Emily found herself the target of even more whispers and pointed stares in the hallways. But Alex wasn't having it. That's enough, Sophia, he said sharply, overhearing her comments during lunch. You have no right to talk about Emily like that. Sophia's face flushed with anger. Oh, come on, Alex, I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. No, Alex replied firmly, you're spreading lies. Emily has more character than most people here, and you know it. Sophia glared at him, her jealousy burning hotter than ever, and Alex's open defense of Emily only made her more determined than before to bring her down. Meanwhile, at the Obie residence, Sophia's mother had heard about the rumors circulating about Emily and Alex, and she knew, deep down, exactly who was behind them. Guilt weighed heavily on her chest, but she said nothing, afraid that speaking out might cost her the very job she had fought so hard to keep. For years, she had worked tirelessly to provide for her daughter, even pleading with Mr. Okocha himself to secure Sophia's place at Gracefield. She could see clearly that her daughter was going too far, but she felt powerless to stop it. All she could do was sigh, return to her chores, and hope that Sophia would come to her senses before the damage became irreversible. Sophia's obsession with destroying Emily's reputation had reached a breaking point. Fueled by jealousy over Alex's growing admiration and the unexpected attention Emily had received at the party, she began plotting something far more dangerous than gossip. One morning, she marched into the dean's office, clutching her phone tightly, a carefully manipulated photograph glowing on the screen, doctored to make it look as though Emily had been meeting an older man under questionable circumstances. Sir, she said, her voice laced with false concern, I think you should know that one of your students is involved in activities that could seriously harm the school's reputation. I felt it was my duty to bring this to your attention. The dean frowned as he examined the photo, then shook his head gravely. I will address this immediately, after the midday assembly. Word spread quickly, and by the time Emily was summoned to the dean's office, the hallways were already buzzing with whispers. She walked in with her head held high, unaware of exactly what awaited her. Emily Okocha, the dean said sternly, it has come to my attention that you've been engaging in behavior unbecoming of a Gracefield student. This photo, he held up the manipulated image, has been brought to me as evidence. Do you deny it? Emily's eyes widened in shock. She recognized the photo instantly, and she knew, without question, exactly who had twisted the truth to frame her. This photo has been altered, Emily said calmly, though her heart pounded in her chest. I have never met this man in my life. Whoever brought this to you wanted me gone, and I think we both know who that is. The dean studied her carefully. Something about her steady voice, her refusal to panic, made him pause. He agreed to launch a full investigation before taking any action, and he asked the school's security team to trace the photo back to its source. Within days, the digital trail led exactly where Emily suspected it would. The image had been edited on a laptop registered to Sophia Obie, and message records recovered from the school server showed Sophia coordinating with an outside contact to create the fake photograph in the first place. When the truth came out, it spread through Gracefield College even faster than the original rumor had. Students who had once laughed at by girl now stared at Sophia with a very different kind of whisper following her down the hallways. The dean called an emergency meeting with both families. Mr. Okocha, upon learning what had been done to his daughter, arrived at the school with the quiet, controlled fury of a man who rarely raised his voice because he never needed to. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply laid out the evidence, calmly and clearly, and asked the board to consider what kind of institution Gracefield wanted to be. Sophia was suspended pending a full disciplinary hearing. And in the chaos of the investigation, another truth finally came to light, one Sophia had spent years trying to bury. The woman she had pushed to the ground at the school gate was not, as she'd once implied to cover her own tracks, some stranger causing a scene. She was Sophia's mother, a woman who had spent years working long hours, sometimes 2 jobs at once, just to keep her daughter enrolled at one of the most expensive schools in the country. The designer bags, the private jet stories, the constant talk of donations and inherited wealth, all of it had been carefully constructed fiction, built on top of a mother's quiet, unglamorous sacrifice. When that truth reached the rest of the student body, the reaction was not what Sophia expected. Some students were cruel about it, mocking her the way she had once mocked Emily. But others, including a few of the very girls who had once fawned over her designer handbag, felt something closer to pity, and a quiet discomfort at how easily they had all been fooled by appearances. Sophia's mother, watching her daughter's world collapse around her, did something Sophia never expected. She showed up at the disciplinary hearing, not to condemn her daughter, but to speak on her behalf, explaining through tears the pressure she believed she had unintentionally placed on Sophia to keep up appearances at a school full of children who had never known a single day of financial hardship. It was, in a strange way, the first honest conversation the two of them had shared in years. Emily, for her part, never asked for Sophia to be expelled. When the dean asked for her input during the final hearing, she said simply that cruelty should have consequences, but that she hoped Sophia would eventually understand that her worth, like anyone else's, was never something that needed to be manufactured or performed. In the end, Sophia wasn't expelled. She was placed on strict probation, required to issue a public apology, and mandated to complete community service alongside academic counseling. It wasn't the ending anyone at Gracefield expected, and it certainly wasn't the ending Sophia herself would have chosen. But it was, perhaps, the beginning of something she desperately needed, the chance to build a version of herself that didn't depend on a lie. As for Emily, she kept riding her bicycle to school every single morning, rain or shine, completely unbothered by the whispers that had once followed her. Alex remained steadily by her side, not because of the donation, not because of the rumors, but because he had seen, from the very beginning, exactly who she was underneath the simple clothes and the quiet demeanor. Her father's words had carried her through every taunt, every lie, every cruel whisper in the hallway, and in the end, they proved truer than anyone at Gracefield College had ever imagined. Your worth was never in what others thought of you. It was always in what you chose to do when no one was giving you credit for it. And that is exactly why Emily walked out of Gracefield College that year with her head held just as high as the day she rode in on that old bicycle, having never once needed a designer bag, a private jet, or a single lie to prove she belonged. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories just like this one, and drop a comment telling me which character you were rooting for the whole way through. Thank you for watching until the very end.